So it's been reported all over the news media yesterday that the first half of Trump's peace plan of the century is to be released on June the 25th, 2019. And I'm going to go straight there. I've got a lot of things to say, not only concerning this, but concerning some of the, make sure that I did this correctly because this is very important. All right, it's on screen share. Okay. Jerusalem Post. Wait a minute. I'll get to this in just a minute. This has made me very upset this morning to have to read this. Broken promises. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and start with Peace Plan June 25th. It's all over the news yesterday. Politico, Washington Post, Jerusalem Post. I guess they updated on the Jerusalem Post 40 minutes ago. Okay. From Washington, the economic part of the U.S. peace plan will be revealed on June the 25th in Bahrain during an international conference. International conference, folks. Let me go ahead and go to Psalm 69, once again, as I have been doing for the last few videos. Oh yeah, Strong's Concordance. Psalm 69:22. Let their table become a bird trap, a jinn, or in Hebrew, a pach, in their face, blows up in their face. And that which should have been for their welfare, or let shalom, peace and security, let it become the bait or the trip line, or the bait that triggers the trip line. Okay? And there's another scripture that I looked at, David. It's, the words of David somewhere. I've got to remember it. It's a little bit more descriptive about how this trapping will happen. According to a senior administration official, representatives from, listen very carefully, folks, the EU, Asia, and the Arab world, as well as Palestinian businessmen, will attend the Peace to Prosperity Economic Forum in the capital of Manama. So who's going to be there? Representatives from the United States, representatives from the EU, representatives from Asia, and the Arab world. Well, there's hardly anybody else left, is there? The conference will facilitate discussions on an ambitious vision for the Palestinian people and the region, including enhancements to economic governance, development of human capital, and the facilitation of rapid private sector growth, the White House said. If implemented, this vision has the potential to radically transform lives and put the region on a path toward a brighter future. He added that the workshop would focus on governance reform and how to make the area more investable so that people will have a much greater opportunity. The official did not provide details regarding the political part of the plan. We'll release that when we think it's appropriate. Jared Kushner, senior advisor to President Donald Trump, thanked Bahrain on Sunday for hosting the workshop. We look forward to engaging with business and thought leaders from throughout the region and the world to build consensus around the best steps the international community can take to develop the foundation for a prosperous future. Palestinian people, along with all the people in the Middle East, deserve a future with dignity and the opportunity to better their lives. Economic progress can only be achieved with a solid economic vision. If the core political issues are resolved, we look forward to presenting our vision on ways to bridge the core political issues very soon, Kushner added. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said in a press release that he is looking forward to participating in the discussion, adding this vision will offer Palestinians exciting new opportunities to realize their full potential. This workshop will engage leaders from across the entire Middle East to promote economic growth and opportunity for the people in this region. The Prime Minister's office, that would be the Israeli Prime Minister's office, had no comment on the reports about the planned seminar in Bahrain or whether Israel had received an invitation to attend. Okay, I think I'm done with this. Folks, you know what this is, don't you? This is extremely deceitful wordplay that is laughable, in my opinion. It's an attempt at bribery. That's right. I said it. I used the word bribery. It is an attempt to bribe terrorists. It is an attempt to bribe terrorists who have been teaching their children and their children's children and their children's children death to Israel. So, I guess to some people, money solves every problem. Now, I don't mean that in any in any way concerning the Jewish people as the Gentiles do. The Gentiles accuse the Jewish people of being willing to sell their grandmother for money, when in fact, in all reality, history has proven much the opposite. And what is this that Jared Kushner said? That the Palestinian people, which is a fake name, by the way, created by the Romans, with all people in the Middle East deserve a future with dignity and opportunity to better their lives. They deserve? Even a right man wouldn't even say himself. I'll say it again. Even a righteous man would not say this about his own self. A righteous man would not even say, I deserve, along with all people, a future with dignity and the opportunity to live better life. This is exactly the entitlement mentality that this generation has, that somehow we are entitled to a better life. No, we're not. We're not entitled to anything. Least of all, terrorists. So, I guess then they're going to set the table, figuratively speaking, the table of Psalm 69 and verse 22. Let their table become a jinn, a bird trap in their face. So I have to wonder. I don't want to get on here and speculate about things that I don't know is going to happen because I do not have the gift of prophecy. What is there need for me to have the gift of prophecy when you have all these prophets that the world leaders refuse to read from Moses, no, from Abraham all the way to Malachi or Malachi, which have enough prophecies concerning Israel's future for anyone to learn from if they choose to do so. So they're going to set the table in Bahrain. Now, let me go look at the map of Bahrain for a minute, just out of on this little island. This is interesting. What do I see here? There's Bahrain and there's Iran. Have anybody been paying attention to the news lately? How 4 Saudi ships, tankers, were sabotaged by mines, limpet mines. How the Houthis went and damaged several oil pipelines in Saudi Arabia. Like I said, I don't take too much time in speculation because speculation is meaningless, but I just can't help but see how close this particular island is to Iran. Now, personally, I don't think that's going to be it. I could be wrong, but I think there's something else in play here. But I just can't help but notice this. I can't help it. So, and what is Bahrain to Iran anyway? Are they at odds with Iran? Let's see. Okay, Bahrain-Iran relations. Oh, well, look what we have here. Bahrain-Iran relations are the bilateral relations between the countries of Bahrain and Iran since the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Relations between the two countries have been strained over various geopolitical issues such as the interpretation of Islam, aspiration for leadership of the Islamic world, and relations with the United States, Europe, and Western countries. In addition, Iran has been severely critical of Bahrain for hosting the United States Fifth Fleet within the Persian Gulf at the Naval Support Activity Bahrain base. After the Saudi diplomatic mission in Iran was ransacked by Iranian protesters following the execution of Nimr al-Nimr, Bahrain followed Saudi Arabia's decision by severing diplomatic relations with Iran on January 4, 2016. On the 16th of April 2019, a court in Bahrain sentenced 139 people to prison for forming terrorist groups backed by Iran. A total of 169 arrested on the 16th of April 2019. The court in Bahrain sentenced the 139 people to prison for forming terrorist groups backed by Iran. A total of 169 were arrested. So it's obvious that, oh, and then we have here 2 years later, Bahraini Shia fundamentalists orchestrated a coup attempt under the auspices of a front organization, the Islamic Front for the Liberation of Bahrain. The coup, which failed, would have installed a Shia cleric exiled in Iran as the supreme leader of Bahrain with a theocratic government. Interesting. So why, oh why, do they feel the need to do this in Bahrain? I'm mystified by this. This is very interesting. Folks, just keep this in the back of your mind. It might be meaningless, okay? But it's one of those things if something should happen between the United States and Iran, it does appear that Bahrain will be directly in the crosshairs or in the crossfire. Now, going back to this is not changing, it's changing the subject here, but I need to address this because I have been very careful not to be critical of the Israeli government. But this right here, I can no longer be silent about. I read this morning and I find it disgusting. I find it appalling. And it makes me angry, quite frankly. Border police destroy a Jewish family's home in Samaria. You know, those of you who've been reading or listening to my videos, you noticed how in Jeremiah 30, part of the new covenant is that they will be yet again planting in the fields of and the mountains of Samaria, it says. And so I guess after winning the election, before winning the election, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, made a solemn promise that not a single settler would be removed from Judea and Samaria. He made a solemn promise. We are all witnesses to this. As soon as the election is over, what happens? He said that the family who has lived there for the past 20 years built a new home on land that they were led to believe was okay. Now this is being demolished. In a surprise move, security forces arrived in Tapua West outpost to remove 3 structures, including a home of a family with 9 children. This strikes at my heart, and I'll tell you why. Because I grew up with a family of 7 children. I think about what it would be like if this was done to my family, how I would feel about it. The stucco house is located on the remnants of a small hilltop community in Samaria. Let's go to Jeremiah 30. Oh. Let's go to Jeremiah 30 here. Now, when we read this in King James, what was the first thing you read? Restoration of Israel and Judah, right? And when you go to the next chapter, it's talking about the new covenant for Israel, right? So that means the restoration of Israel and Judah are part of the new covenant. But it talks about here in the very beginning, the time of Jacob's trouble, but he will be saved out of it. And more accurate description of this is in Daniel 12 and verse 1, if you care to read it. So on the day that the new covenant begins for Israel, this happens. Time of Jacob's trouble. On the same day, at the same time, verse 8 says, Jehovah of hosts, I will break his yoke from off your neck. Whose yoke from off your neck? The Gentiles' yoke from off his neck. And I will burst your bonds, and the strangers shall no more serve themselves on Israel. But Israel shall serve Jehovah, their Elohim, and David, their king, or son of David, their king, and I will raise up to them. Fear not you, my servant Jacob, saith Jehovah, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return and be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. And this is what's going to happen to the Gentiles. Verse 11, for I am with you, saith Jehovah, to save you, though I will make a full end of all the nations where I have scattered you. I will not do the same to you. Now, if you think that Israel's tribulation was extreme, and it was, if Israel's tribulation from 67 CE to 2019 was extreme, it will be nothing compared to the tribulation that's going to fall upon the Gentiles. Now, when we scroll down here, oh, it's in the next chapter, you see. Let's go to the next chapter. We're getting even closer to the new covenant. Jeremiah 31, verse 31 to 34. The new covenant. What is the new covenant? What is a part of it? Well, I'll tell you what a part of it is. See if I can find it. Well, we'll just start right here. Verse 10, hear the word of Jehovah, O you Gentiles, and declare it to the coastlands afar, and say, he that scatters Israel will gather him now, and keep him as a shepherd does his flock, because Jehovah has redeemed Jacob and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Okay? Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for, right here. Verse 5, and you shall plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planter shall plant and shall eat them as normal things. This is a part of the new covenant. Israel having Samaria back. And what do we have here? What is this? And what is this? Now, let's read this carefully. And we're going to see that the blame goes directly to the prime minister. The demolition was a direct result of a High Court of Justice ruling in response to a petition from the left-wing NGO Yesh Din. Well, that doesn't look like the prime minister, does it? Let's continue reading here. Tapua West resident Moshe Hirschlich said that there was no such court order for his home, which the civil administration said was put up after last year's evacuation. Hirschlich, a 20-year outpost resident, said he had not been served with any demolition order for the structure. It was built as a part of a relocation move to an area within a master plan for the community, he said. They don't treat terrorists this way. says Hertzlich, who was surprised to find security forces at his door Tuesday morning. To his request about a demolition order, he was told that one has been faxed to him. His answer was, "I don't own a fax. This is a diplomatic decision made by the upper echelon and has nothing to do with the court," Hertzlich said as he called on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to halt the demolition. "There is no court order here. If somebody has one, I'm willing to give him $1 million. What you are seeing here is the demolition of a home, not because of the High Court, not because of the status of the land, but because of the internal politics of settlement movement," Hertzlich continued. The demolition order was signed, apparently, by Deputy Defense Minister Eli Dahan. He is the only one who can sign it. And of course, if Deputy Defense Minister Eli Dahan is indeed Deputy Defense Minister, who is the Defense Minister? Benjamin Netanyahu. The Deputy Defense Minister answers to the Defense Minister, and the Defense Minister answers to the Prime Minister, who is also Benjamin Netanyahu. I will continue reading. This is an absurd situation where Netanyahu, who is also the defense minister, has to order someone known as a settler supporter, Dahan, not to demolish a home in Judea and Samaria, Hertzlich said. That's the reason why he wouldn't order settler supporter Dahan not to demolish a home in Judea and Samaria. What do you think really happened here? And you can read the rest of it. This is horrible. This is just absolutely horrible. The family has been living there for the past 20 years, built a new home on the land that they were led to believe was okay. And the civil administration said the home was illegally built and that orders to stop the construction and demolition had been issued against it. Well, guess what, folks? This goes against Jeremiah 31. This is in opposition to Jeremiah 31. This is in opposition to the new covenant. And so is the peace deal of the century, is in opposition to the new covenant. But I wanted to say one more thing about the Prime Minister and his promise. No more debt. Okay. This goes all the way back to 2017. Netanyahu vows he will never evacuate another settlement. Oh, okay. So he's just going to evacuate individual settlers. Parsing words here, folks. He said, we've uprooted settlements. What did we get? We received missiles. It will not happen again. But you see, folks, this this promise also was in see, no more settler. Okay. He even said that he would begin plans to annex settlements in Judea and Samaria. I should not have used Haaretz because, well, I thought they were going to block me, but oh, there it is. Again, adding West wins Israel election. And who tells Channel 12 3 days before the election he will not evacuate any community nor divide Jerusalem. So, broken promises. Now, what is this in response to, folks? You know what this is in response to. These are the same actions as Ariel Sharon and Yitzhak Rabin. I don't need to remind everybody what happened to Ariel Sharon or Yitzhak Rabin after they betrayed their people. Who did they betray their people to? To the Gentiles. They betrayed their people to the Gentiles. Now, I'm not going to call them capos, but this is what other Jews called Jews who betrayed them during the Holocaust. This is betrayal. Selling, or let me rephrase it, tossing your fellow Jews to the lions, to the Gentiles. And I ask the question, those of you who do this, do you think that you're going to fare any different than the Gentiles when the tribulation upon the Gentiles happens? Do you think you're going to fare any better? Let me go to Zechariah 1. Verse 12, and then the angel of Jehovah answered and said, or asked and said, O Jehovah of hosts, how long will you not have mercy on Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, against which you had indignation these 70 years? And now the indignation has been millennia. So this was the first destruction of Jerusalem by Babylon. And Jehovah answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel communed also with me and said unto me, cry out and say this, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. Now let me ask you a question. If he was jealous for Jerusalem and for Mount Zion with a great jealousy after only 70 years, how many times more do you think that he is going to be jealous for Mount Zion and Jerusalem after 2 millennia? Consider that. Now he says, and I am very sore displeased with the heathen. Uh-oh. How many more times is he going to be sore displeased with the heathen after 2 millennia? Look what it says here, that are at ease, that are prosperous. He is sore displeased with the heathen that are prosperous. Because in comparison, I was only a little displeased. What? Uh-oh. We've got a problem here, folks. We've got a big, big, big problem. So in comparison to how he was displeased with Judah and Jerusalem, he is extremely sore displeased with the Gentiles who live in prosperity at the expense of Jerusalem. In comparison, he's only a little displeased with Judah and Jerusalem. We got a big, big problem. And that problem is Jehovah's wrath. And any Jew who sells out another Jew, knowing the scripture, knowing what it says, how do you think you're going to fare when that time comes, when the day of Jehovah's wrath comes? It says, then Gentiles made the affliction much worse. Much worse than what was intended. And that's the reason why his anger with the Gentiles is far, far greater than his anger upon Judah and Jerusalem. Therefore, for that reason, saith Jehovah, I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built on it. And yet, you have the current Israeli government removing houses from Samaria. Why is the current Israeli government doing this? I suspect it is in preparation for the peace deal of the century. My house shall be built, and it says, Jehovah of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry out, saying, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, my cities will once again spread abroad in prosperity, and Jehovah shall yet comfort Zion, and shall again choose Jerusalem. And so I ask you, does any of you know when Jehovah will choose Jerusalem, or has he already done so and have the powers that be in Washington, D.C., in Rome, in Russia, or even in Jerusalem, have they not seen it? If anybody who was paying attention would have noticed that a cloud encircled the Temple Mount on Hoshana Rabbah last year. Now, as one rabbi said, if it would have been any other day in the year, he would not have seen the significance of it. But that one day. Why? Why did he say that? Because that was the day. That was the day when the glory of Jehovah entered into the most holy place in King Solomon's temple. It was the very same day. It's in 1 Kings 8, if you care to read it. It was, let's see, let's go to, I don't want to lose my train of thought here because I'm going to read this afterwards. But I need to go to 1 Kings 8. And you can find it on Google. You can on YouTube. You can look it up. It's not hard. Okay. As you can see right here, Solomon assembles the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chiefs of the fathers of the children of Israel unto Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring the ark of the covenant of Jehovah out of the city of David, which is Zion. What is the city of David? It is East Jerusalem. That's Zion. East Jerusalem, what the Gentiles are planning on forcing Israel to give to the Arabs. And the Gentiles have got their houses of worship in there. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Solomon the feast of the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. What feast is on the 7th month? Sukkot. Got it? And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and they brought the ark of Jehovah and the tabernacle of the congregation, all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, and even those that the priests and the Levites bring up. The king Solomon and the congregation of Israel were assembled with him and were before the ark sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told for the numbering of the multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant unto its place, unto the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and the staves thereof above. Then they drew out the staves, and the ends of the staves were seen outside of the holy place before the oracle, and they were not seen. Wait a minute, ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle, but they were not seen outside. And there they were unto this day. And there was nothing in the ark except for the 2 tables of stone which Moses put them at Horeb, where Jehovah made a covenant with the children of Israel. Now I want you to understand, folks. Listen to the very next words here. And it came to pass that when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of Jehovah, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of Jehovah had filled the house of Jehovah. Now the house of Jehovah is not very big. And the cloud that was around the holy place at that very same time would have been enough to fill the house of Jehovah in the days of on the same feast day. This was the first anointing of the temple, of the holy place. Now with another anointing of the holy place, as written in Daniel 9, now you just read, right here. This is concerning the old covenant here. All right. The 2 tables of stone where Jehovah made a covenant with the children of Israel. Okay. If this happened again, it is a signal for the new covenant to begin. All right. So bearing that in mind, we'll go to Daniel 9. And Daniel is praying for all Israel, not for just for Judah and Jerusalem, no, but for all Israel. Verse 7, O Jehovah, righteousness belongs to you, but unto us confusion of faces, because this day the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem and all Israel, all 12 tribes of Israel that are near and far, through all the countries where you have driven them because of our trespasses which you have trespassed against you. Okay? And he says right here in verse 11, yes, all Israel have departed from your Torah, even by departing that they might not obey your voice. Therefore the curse is poured out upon us, and the oath that is written in the Torah of Moses, the servant of Jehovah, because we have sinned against him. Okay? Now look down here. And right now, I think I've talked enough about the 62 weeks, the 7 weeks, and the 1 week. I have gone over that enough. I have multiple videos disproving all the theories that all the preachers have been spewing out concerning the 77s. But the one thing that I wanted to show you, I don't think I can show enough, quite frankly, it is this. To anoint the most holy place. The holy, that's the holy place. The Kodesh is the most holy place. How did Jehovah anoint the most holy place the first time? We just read it in 1 Kings 8. Just read it. With the cloud. And it happened last year on the Feast of Sukkot, on the last day. So going back to Zechariah 1 and finishing this up here. Verse 18, then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there were 4 horns. Well, that's interesting. 4 horns? Let's think about it for a minute. Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. Whoa. In this particular time frame, Persia, Greece, and Rome had not done this to Israel yet. So this is at the time of the end, right here. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, behold, 4 horns. And I said to the angel that talked with me, what are these? And he answered me and says, these are the horns which have scattered Judah. Notice he also adds Israel, the whole house of Israel and Jerusalem. And Jehovah showed me 4 carpenters. And then said I, what do these do? What do these carpenters do? And he spoke and said, these are, well, these originally right here, these horns are the 4 horns which scattered Judah, so that no man lifted up his head. But these, the 4 carpenters, all right, folks, I know who these 4 carpenters are, and I'll show it to you, are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, those who lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it. Which horns did this? It was Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. So who are the 4 carpenters? I will show you. Go ahead and start another page here. Hold back the 4 winds. This is why I'm telling you folks, Come on. All right, it is in Revelation 7, I think. There it is. I'll show you who the four carpenters are. And this is the reason why, folks, I've been saying that the coming tribulation is going to be upon the Gentiles. I've said it over and over again. This is proof right here. And after these things, verse 1, and I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor the sea, nor any tree. And we went down here just the other day, and you see another angel saying, hold back the four winds until we seal the 144,000 and the innumerable multitude. Yes, and the innumerable multitude. These, the innumerable multitude, are Israel, scattered near and far, mixed up, mixed in blood, and the 144,000 are of Israel out of each and every one of the tribes of Israel, including Dan. As I pointed out a few days ago, who have not figuratively nor literally been defiled with women. So who's left? Who is left for the four winds to blow on? The answer is in Zechariah 1. The four carpenters, or the four angels that have a hold of the four winds, they have come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, those which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah, to scatter it. And when you mess with the new covenant, the everlasting covenant, as written in Isaiah 24, as I mentioned in my last video, when you mess with it, when you throw a stumbling block in front of Israel with this peace deal of the century. See, what this peace deal of the century does is it bribes Israel's enemies, and then it threatens Israel that the United States will no longer help Israel financially if it does not sign it. What is in it? Well, according to the words that came out of President Donald Trump's mouth, that Israel will have to give up a lot. Let me see. Okay, took Jerusalem off the table. I'll get there. There it is right here. You see? There it is, folks. You already know what's in the peace plan of the century without seeing it, because there it is right here. Trump, Jerusalem or Israel will pay a higher price for Jerusalem's him recognizing Jerusalem. Well, it doesn't matter if some mortal man recognizes Jerusalem. What matters is it right here in Zechariah 1, where it says, he will again, right here, verse 17, cry out, saying, thus saith Jehovah of hosts, my city, through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Jehovah shall yet comfort Zion, and shall again choose Jerusalem. And I believe, because what I saw last year on Hoshana Rabbah, he has again chosen Jerusalem. And if he has chosen Jerusalem again, then the new covenant is about to be implemented for Israel. And to throw a stumbling block to do this, to try to force Israel to give up its land, to pay heavy concessions because they want a big thing, giving the Palestinians something very good because it's their turn. No, it's not their turn. This is a violation of the new covenant, folks. That's what it is. So you know, he made his intentions plain. Back in nearly a year ago, he made his intentions plain concerning Jerusalem, concerning his peace deal of the century. What would be in it? Yet, right after he made this announcement, right after he did this, what happened? The mist, the cloud was seen around the holy place on Hoshana Rabbah. Temple Mount. This is on Breaking Israel News. You see this? October the 3rd, 2018. You see it. There's a lot of people noticed it. A lot of people. There it is. It's all over the place. Breaking Israel News. Strange mist covers of Temple Mount. Right here. On the 6th day of Sukkot, a group of Jews praying on the Mount of Olives witnessed with a strange mist, right? I believe that began, I thought it was on the 7th day of Sukkot. But anyway, but it was within what we just read in 1 Kings 8 on the same feast. The service of the last day of Sukkot is called Hoshana Rabbah and marks the end of the week-long festival. The prayer service included a special service in which 7 circuits are made, or 7 rotations are made, by the worshipers with their lulav and etrog while singing praises to Jehovah. The mist remained for approximately half an hour, remaining close to the ground and confined to the Temple Mount compound. You see, there it is. If you care to look, you can YouTube this. You can go look this up for yourself. It was noticed. Remember, the room of the temple where of Solomon's temple was small, and if the whole cloud entered into that, it would have filled the room up so that exactly as it is written, the priests would not have been able to stay in there. But do the world leaders, do they see this? They don't see it, and they don't notice because they don't read scripture. And to go and throw out settlers in Samaria against the words of Jeremiah 31 concerning the new covenant, how dare you? How dare you? Do you think you will somehow escape what happened to Ariel Sharon and Yitzhak Rabin? When you do such things, how can you? If it happened to them, it can happen to you. Now I've just shown you who the four carpenters are here. They're coming. They're the four angels that have a hold of the four winds, and the four winds are going to blow on the Gentiles. I have proven once again that the great tribulation in the last day is upon the Gentiles. It is upon the four horns who scattered Judah. Who are the four horns who scattered Judah? That would be Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. So now you realize that this is Revelation 7. Ain't talking about some spiritual Israel or some non-Israelite entity here. These people here that are preserved, the 140,000 plus the innumerable multitude, they are all Israel, far and near. Those that are pure, these 144,000 who are pure in heart and pure of seed, and the rest of them who are not pure of seed will also be gathered and sealed. Amos 9 in verse 9 said that he would scatter them throughout all the nations, yet he will not abandon not even the tiniest pebble. Okay? So let me help you out here, folks. You see, these 144,000, these are the larger pebbles right here. And these, the great innumerable multitude, they are the tiny pebbles of Amos 9 and verse 9. No, he's not going to let not even the smallest one be abandoned. But they're going to have to answer the call. They're going to have to answer the call that is written in Joel 2, where he says, all who call upon the name of Jehovah shall be saved, because in Mount Zion shall be deliverance. In other words, there won't be deliverance in the United States. There won't be deliverance in Rome. There won't be deliverance in Salt Lake City. There won't be deliverance in London. There won't be deliverance in Baghdad. There won't be deliverance in Bahrain. There won't be deliverance in Moscow. There will only be deliverance in Mount Zion. You will have to get up and go to Mount Zion. Why? Because the four angels are going to turn loose the four winds upon all the lands that Israel has been scattered to. They are the four carpenters that are going to destroy four horns who scattered Israel. Now, I think that I have made myself abundantly clear in this video.